Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Jake, this is Nadia, that's Sedona. Today we are talking about a movie. I don't know about you, but this has kind of been one of the top movies of the year for me in terms of anticipation. It is Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film, One Battle After Another. I am so nervous because...
Not because I'm wearing a divorce shirt.
No, that's part of it because we didn't see this together. I have no idea what you thought. This movie is getting like universal praise almost. Just tell me, what did you think?
Well, you're saying it's getting a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Well, I really don't understand why it's not getting more praise.
You're so obnoxious.
I don't know. I actually don't watch the reviews, or I haven't looked at Rotten Tomatoes or, searched online to see the praise that you're talking about. But I can speak from my own experience of watching this last night. It was one of the best movies I've seen all year.
All right.
And I know you like it too.
Who knows? Maybe
so we don't talk about reviews. We don't say things to each other, as you guys know. We barely talk at all, actually. But
we just have a cold, lifeless marriage. We don't communicate.
Except for here. So thank you guys for making it possible for us to talk. But I knew we're not going to talk about it. I knew from his facial expressions that he liked it. When I watched it, I was like, oh, wow, I like it too. Because every time I'm like, he liked it, I'm like, I'm probably not going to like it. But
I knew you were going to like it.
How did you know?
Because it's a crowd pleaser. I feel like it appeals to most people, even though it is more of like an artsy film. It is Paul Thomas Anderson. I don't know your experience with Paul Thomas Anderson. Have you seen many of his films? Have you seen Boogie Nights?
Yeah. I literally don't remember it is the thing.
So we have some work to do.
I mean, we don't even talk to each other outside of this. So yes, we have a lot of work to do.
Okay, so this movie is just a thrilling, very exciting, but it is kind of like an ultimate like dad movie in a way.
It has the most funny, here's what I liked about the film. Okay. I really liked the humor. Leonardo DiCaprio was so funny in this film. He made dull moments or things that, first of all, this is a 2 hours, 44 minutes runtime, I believe. And that, when I saw the runtime, I was like, oh my God, why?
It doesn't feel like 3 hours at all.
But it didn't feel like 3 hours at all. And I think a lot of it is because of the humor and because of everything else, especially. And this is an adventurous film. You also don't there are some characters that you think will stick by in the beginning of the film that don't really come around at the end. The antagonist, they're really funny in its own right. I feel like this is one of those films where the actors make it. The script is really strong, but if the acting wasn't just as strong, I think this could have definitely been something that didn't work. I truly feel like it's a movie that would be enjoyed by the mass audience members because it's not necessarily
it's not preaching anything.
It's not preaching anything. It's not it's more so just showing you these are the events that happen. The humor in everything is just superb. It does have a conclusive ending without me saying it's happy or sad, and I really like that. The villains, there's more than one villain in this film, but there's a main villain, main antagonist, main antagonist. But
no, I like that.
It's almost like slapstick comedy in a way, but the way that it's done in this film, because it's not a slapstick film, is like a cherry on top. I really loved the ending. I could go on and on about different things that I liked about the film.
We have a lot to just... I've never been so excited to get into spoilers for a movie.
Well, I want you to tell me what you rate and then what you liked about the film, non-spoiler, before we
No, I have more to talk about first. I want to get into a little more before we get into spoilers. I think that the tone you're talking about, where it's the slapstick, but intense feeling, and it feels very present. It feels very... I don't think he's made a movie... Most of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies are set in the past. The Master set in the 50s. There Will Be Blood is the 1890s or whatever, or the 1910s. Licorice Pizza, his last movie, was set in the 70s. So if this feels like a movie for now, and a movie where the filmmaker is thinking about legacy, what it means to pass on the torch to young people, what it means to be a parent. I know Paul Thomas Anderson has kids with Maya Rudolph, thinking a lot about just his own kids being alive today in this world and what that means. But it also is so uniquely its own. It's combining all these different genres and ideas that it is an epic, but it feels so focused as well. You'll hear people say that the first 40 minutes or so are the weaker part of the movie. I thought the first 40 minutes it feels like a huge extended prologue that plays out almost like a classic movie of the 40s and 50s or something, where it's like they'll compress a bunch of time and tell the story very concisely. And it was just so exciting and thrilling and propulsive that I was, once it kicks into gear for the next part of the movie, which is kind of like Taken, it's kind of like a funny, crazy Pynchon-esque take on like a Liam Neeson action movie. But you have Jeff Bridges' Lebowski character as the hero. It is very similar to The Big Lebowski in a lot of ways, but yeah, it is like Paul Thomas Anderson doing something you've never seen him before, make like an action movie. Like this draws on Terminator 2, it draws on Mad Max. It's not a pretentious film.
For someone who doesn't remember this director's previous films, how would you say this is different from like his other films?
I think it is a lot,
or legacy films.
It's a lot more like his earlier films. I feel like it has that kinetic energy of Boogie Nights and Magnolia, but in a different way. Like those movies aren't action movies. This has a lot of action in it. In a way, this feels a little less show-offy. Like it feels more mature, and it has that kind of mature tone, more like limited in scope feeling of like his later movies like The Master and Phantom Thread, which are both masterpieces. I did a ranking video of PTA movies. That was before I'd seen all of them, but I'll probably want to redo that. I'd love it if you saw all of his movies.
This film, this is how I know this film won in my heart, is because it makes me want to, like, especially that's why I'm interested in seeing how this compares to his other work, because I'm like, I really enjoy films like this. So his other films, if it's similar, then I would really enjoy watching them. I think
you would love Punch Drunk Love, I think.
Oh, I have never seen that.
It's an Adam Sandler movie.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I want to see it.
The point is, this movie feels special. It feels different. The whole time I was watching it, it was just like kind of delighted and like, wow, I haven't felt this way before in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie or in any movie. This movie feels like a spiritual twin to Eddington, which came out earlier this year, which is also about the present, which is about like the last 5 years in terms of like the iconography, the ideas, the division, the fear and anxiety. This movie is kind of on the same wavelength. But man, this movie, I think unlike Eddington, which is kind of a cold movie and very, very mean spirited in some ways.
Yeah.
This movie has a really big heart, and that comes down to the relationship between Leo DiCaprio's character, Bob, and his daughter, played by Chase Infinity. All of the actors were fantastic. I thought Tiana Taylor was amazing. She really holds on to that first 40 minutes of the movie. So essential to why this movie works, I think. DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall. I mean, it's just an outstanding, it feels like an ensemble movie, but it also
Regina Hall's performance was great. I really liked Regina Hall's performance. I also want to say that this movie deals with certain themes that I think is important. It doesn't explain it or analyze it anyway, but someone who's we'll get into spoilers when you're ready, but are you ready?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh. So I do want to say before we get into spoilers that, it does deal with birth, postpartum, kind of those types of, it doesn't touch on it in a very didactic way, but it does show more of a cause and effect of those different scenarios. So that's one of the reasons why I like the film, because it doesn't try to preach you, but it does show different themes.
I think I saw this with a packed theater and people were really responding and laughing a lot.
Saw it with me and one other couple.
Yeah, so not quite as fun, but
you saw in the press release. I didn't go, so
yeah. It was. I mean, people were really enjoying it. And there's a lot of laughter that's nervous laughter, but also there's big breaks of just stupid humor that lines that you'd be like, I can't believe this is in a PTA movie. It does feel kind of like a throwback to the fun recklessness of Boogie Nights and Magnolia. It's one of those movies that I am so excited to rewatch. I think it's going to stand the test of time already. I mean, there's a reason why people are rallying around it, because it just feels so special. And the whole movie, there's action sequences in this movie that are more thrilling than anything you'll see in 99% of action movies these days. Not because they're so out there, crazy pyrotechnics. It's because of the way they're filmed. They're so deliberate. The movie's so tactile. It's not everything feels real. You really feel like Leonardo DiCaprio, you just smoked too much weed and now you're I cannot handle this right now. That's part of the fun and the terror of this film. So yeah, I mean, I guess let's get into spoilers.
What would you rate it before we get into spoiler?
I think it's just a 10 out of 10. Like,
wow, that is a big praise coming from you.
Because
I don't even get a 10 out of 10 as a human.
Yes, you do. You're an 11 out of 10.
Aww.
Okay, so what are you giving it?
I give you 20 out of 10.
No, what are you giving the movie? Thank you.
9 out of 10.
Okay, 9 out of 10. All right. Hater.
I give you 15 out of 10.
Speaking of haters, there's one line about haters in this movie that was so funny. Okay, let's just get into it. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Go watch this movie now. Yes. Do it right now. The Jim Downey plays like a racist, evil guy in a cult. Jim Downey, I love, and is probably most well known from the meme of Jeff Epstein, the financier that he did on Conan's podcast. But he was the head writer of SNL for like 20 years or whatever, and he was in There Will Be Blood, another PTA movie. But just seeing him in this movie as like the embodiment of this evil secret society, he's like, well, what do we want to do? What are our goals as our society? It's to get rid of the haters and the punk trash. I think part of what I really loved about this movie is how the villains are so scary, but they're also so laughably stupid. And like,
that's what I liked about it. That's how it worked.
Like, you're laughing at these fucking horrible people, and it's very cathartic, and it's very like Sean Penn is such an evil villain and is scary, but he's so buffoonish and funny. There's a line when he has his daughter captured and she's like, "Why is your shirt so tight?" And just in the most like growling tone, he just like, "Are you implying that I'm gay?"
It's like,
I'm not gay.
So I want to talk about him in particular.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Lockjaw in particular, the character. In the movie, he's aroused by perfidia. That arousal that he felt with her never left in his quest to be in this secret society, but at the same time want to be accepted by her because she rejects him and says like, basically he's not enough for her.
And I do think he has like this sick love for her.
Yeah, well, he said, "I love her," but what is really interesting is even in the script, in the dialogue that he says to his daughter is like, you need to respect your mother and father. He calls his daughter a racial slur because she's mixed. So it's like that. So the way that the script and writing and the acting all comes together is like really what makes it work. At the same time, like, it's just obviously very grotesque and almost killed by one of his own people, but then his face is completely like,
we'll get into that. I do want to talk like a little bit more, if it's okay, like with the beginning, since we were talking about those opening scenes where it is kind of like we're following this revolutionary group called the French 75, which I thought was fun.
Oh my god, that's my favorite drink. So
it does feel like we're in an alternate reality present almost. And I didn't mention this in the earlier part of this video, but this movie is kind of sort of based on the book Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. I haven't read it, but from what I know, it kind of deals with the fallout of the radicals from the 60s and how they've aged into the 80s and how they're dealing with their children and, the legacy of that. And I find that interesting that Paul Thomas Anderson kind of updated that into the present era and like what that would mean, because I don't think there's a kind of direct parallel to the radicals of the 60s to any kind of organization or movement of today. So it is kind of like this alternate reality present, that is just very, very absurd, but unique, and like just a unique way to see our world, because it does feel very immediate. Everything is like grounded, all the references and everything, like it is very present, but also like of this strange alternate landscape. Okay, I'm jumping ahead too anyway. Okay, we're jumping all over. There's too much to talk about in this movie. Okay, what do you want to talk about?
let's go by characters. Okay.
I
think one of the things that I really liked about, really quickly to wrap it up, about this particular character, Lockjaw, is that when he explains like why he has a biracial kid to the other racist folks, and then he like the explanation he gives them, and then it's like what happens to him in the end, I'm not sure if it's because they don't believe him or
they absolutely don't, because it's unforgivable for them, or
if it's like you got succumbed regardless.
Well,
like I didn't know if it was like, it doesn't matter if this was this was by choice or not, either way you get stoned to death kind of thing.
Yeah, and one of the biggest And also just the futility of like their project of this kind of hatred. Like there's no point to it. It's self-defeating. I appreciated that they don't really have a final showdown, or Leo doesn't have a final showdown with Lockjaw, which is what the movie's leading up to. And I was like, this is kind of unsatisfying. But it cuts to him just being eliminated by the own people that he's trying to join.
Well, it's not about like a conclusive ending in the sense that like, okay, they win the war. I mean, just like the title
there's
in
another
itself,
battle.
it's one battle after another, and it's the idea of the film. I think the message of the film is you just keep on fighting regardless of the fact that there will be another battle to fight after this one, and the legacy that you were alluding to earlier as well. I think that, you know, what's interesting is that you don't know if Lockjaw is trying to find his daughter to like take her away and hide her, so his society, or the society he wants to get into, it won't know about her. But then you find out that it's even more sinister than that. He actually wants to kill her, and he doesn't really, you know, he says, my calling is bigger than being your father. To her. And then the way that he like handles her, and the juxtapose between her seeing, you know, now who she realizes as her biological dad, and her dad that raised her, whom she's known as her dad. And then also, like, I thought it was interesting that Leo DiCaprio's character doesn't ever find out, at least not on screen, that he's not her biological father. Like, she doesn't let that information out, because when Leo finds her, she, you know, she's very much alert in that, like, military, like, I'm gonna shoot you if you approach me, because she's going through so much right there, and it's heartbreaking. But then he goes, I'm your dad, like, you know, has to kind of consistently say that line. And then it's almost like, oh my god, okay, it doesn't matter that this other fucker was like my biological dad. He wasn't actually my dad. Dad is more of an action rather than a biological link. It's a person who loves you, cares about you. So it becomes about the action than actually like the biological connection. And I love that, because if there was two men like Leo and, you know, the other guy having a showdown, then it becomes more about like a love triangle, quote unquote, rather than like the actual, just the theme of the film, you know, in itself. It
has that realism to it, even though it is like heightened reality. There's that realism of like the big car chase. It's the most thrilling car sequence where all three cars just are all behind each other in a line. There's not really much beyond that, but it's so exciting the way it's filmed. Like, oh my god, that final sequence with the hills and the long, I mean, it's shot on VistaVision, just totally amazing to look at. But that final car crash moment is just so exciting and
it's so cool. Exciting, but I also liked how Leo didn't know like which car was his daughter in, and kind of like
it's all confusion. I mean, there's so much like anxiety and paranoia and confusion. I mean, there's a 30-minute stretch of this movie where Leo his whole goal is to just try to get through this one guy on a phone who keeps asking what time is it, and he doesn't know the answer. And
he's just god. Yeah, that was really fun. I really like that it was more about like Leo and his daughter rather than the mom coming back at the end. We see her through a letter, but like we don't see her physically. I think that was really important.
What I also like is the movie isn't like judging her or trying to demonize her in a way. It's just kind of telling her story. Like, even though what she did wasn't good, you know, abandoning the family and everything and all her choices in life, she's still like a person in this story. Like, one of my favorite shots in this movie is when she rats out on the group and she gets this like different life, and she's in this standard ass suburban house, and there's a shot of the fence, this like cinder block fence, and the camera just is slowly rising up, and you just see beyond it is just nothing. And you feel like that emotional depth for her character, who's just so in the fight and wants to have all these crazy action and this action filled life. And there's a kind of like empathy for her and what she's trying to overcome in her life. So I thought
but also she's not like, she's very imperfect, but at the same time,
and she comes back in the letter at the end of the film. So it's like she isn't totally absent from the rest of the film, but her absence informs like everything that happens. It kind of gives like the moment with Leo when he's at the like the parent teacher conference or whatever, and you know he's just like, are you teaching her the right history? You know, oh, these guys were slave owners. Like that was so funny.
The way that it was so funny, and then
he starts crying, and she's just like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Well, you know, she didn't have her mom."
Well, he says, "This is what I look like when I'm happy," and then she starts confessing, and it was just like very interesting. It's just amazing. I love Leo's character and his acting. It was so funny the way it happened, and like what you were saying earlier, he can't remember the time, and then it's like, you know, he was like, you know, a boomer, kind of like yelling at the phone, but when everything else is going on, I'm like, come on, don't you gotta go? Don't you gotta like escape?
Well, and what a universal experience of just what I just let me through. I don't need to know the fucking password. It's just like dealing with the worst customer service, but it's this bureaucracy of this revolutionary
organization. But even after
he's
like everything is like resolved, he still is like yelling when he's like, we gotta go, and it's like, don't you gotta find your daughter? He's like, see, you gotta let me tell you about this and all those things.
It's so entertaining.
But it was also not like a happy ending, because a lot of people got caught. They got arrested. You know, Regina Hall, like it was mostly tragic for her, I think, because she was a really great person. The character was a really great person, you could tell. And she, you know, one of the nuns say, you know, you still have a lot of fight left on you. So she actually can't fight anymore because she is caught. It was something very stupid because, you know, of course teenagers do, they don't listen. So the teenage girl had a cell phone, didn't tell Regina. That I thought was tragic. I really wish there was a way that was freed. And you also don't know like the ending of every character. Like, you know, the guy, the sensei, he was caught in a very funny way. He was like dancing and all that stuff, but you don't know if he's gonna go to jail. You don't know, because he's like
he's great. Benicio del Toro is so great.
Oh my god, very funny.
It's just that dynamic, that contrast between him and Leo, his calm presence. And I love the moment when he's trying to get Leo to jump out of the car, and he's like Tom fucking Cruise, come on. And he ends up having to like swerve the car so he falls out. Like, it's just it is so realistic how stupid this is.
And I love how Leo, like, you think that he's gonna make it with these kids who are trying to
I know, he's like can barely
falls
keep
off
up
because he's so out of shape. And I love he's like I've been drinking and doing drugs, and you know, I'm so unprepared. But I like the contrast of like when the daughter is picked up and Regina's character, she says like, you know, don't worry, your dad has been training for this. Turns out like he's like forgotten everything. He's become so complicit.
Well, I love this got a big laugh in the theater where I watched it, where after he gets the call of like your daughter has been taken and everything, you know, he's not like, I will find you, he's not becoming Liam Neeson. He's just like, stay calm. He's like, I'm really high right now. And then the first thing is like, okay, stay calm. Think. Like, then he takes another hit. That got a huge laugh. Just like, and then like, there are moments where it's like, it's just up and down for him the whole movie. He escapes out of the hospital, you know, after he gets arrested. And then he gets in the car with Benicio del Toro, and he immediately is just like, let's fucking go. And they're drinking and stuff. And of course they get caught just by some highway patrolman because he's drinking beer in the car. Like, it's just the stupidest person getting caught up. But he has such like a good heart. He's just like, there's so much complications going on in the story, so much like weird secret society bullshit. But the heart of it is just like a dad trying to protect his daughter. And that's like the whole drive of the movie.
I also love their relationship where it's like he's not the greatest dad because he's like, you know, a little bit like depressed dad, but at the same time trying to do the right thing by their daughter. And then it's like, okay, you should always tell me what you think.
I know. It's like,
you should tell me what you think.
I know,
you
should. So funny. Where it's like she's like
respect her anonymity, but at the same time, he's just like, oh god, this is so hard.
She needs to challenge hierarchies. Like, yeah, tell me this is good.
Like, do you have to tell me what you think? Okay, yeah, tell me what you think is the right thing. And then it's just very interesting, you know, their relationship. And I like at the end how when he gives the letter from her mom, how it's like, I like that interaction between them, how she leaves and then he's just like chill, and he has a phone, so that's nice and a happy ending for them because he doesn't have to be so paranoid that he doesn't have a phone anymore. In that sense, they're kind of living their lives out in the open. We don't know too much details about it, but we know like they're gonna keep on fighting. And so just like the movie started fighting one battle after another. It concludes one battle after another, but like different point in time. It's interesting. It's kind of like takes away your idealism, but at the same time, then something more beautiful happens, where you accept someone as a human. There is the relationship to pursue possibly there, and it's just a beautiful ending for them. Not for a lot of characters, good or bad, but like, you know, for them. And I think that's why it leaves a good taste in your mouth, or my mouth at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a very... We could go into like a million different little moments.
It's a 3-hour film. Like, there's a lot that happens there. Just watch it. Tell us if you like it or not. Tell us why you don't like it if you like it.
And more than anything, just please go see it. Because, like,
Yeah.
I want them to make more movies like this. I want Paul Thomas Anderson to have a budget like this. Like, this is the most expensive movie he's ever made.
And don't get what he's saying wrong. The only reason he wants you to watch it and support films like this, so other films like this can be made, is so that we can actually talk. Because
well, I don't give a shit about box office. Like, that doesn't mean the value of a movie, but it means that they get to make more movies like this.
I thought you meant that meant that we get to talk.
Yeah, and that you see the movie, we get to talk. And
all right, talking is ending. I hope you liked our review and let us know what you think.
Bye-bye.
Bye.